Hello, my name is Angela Cheek, Tateskawa. I'm an enrolled member of the Fort Peck Assiniboine Sioux tribes. And right now, where I am is on the Fort Peck Indian Reservation. The project that's being built near the Fort Peck Reservation where I live is the Trans-Canada Energy Company, the Keystone XL pipeline, and that's what we're fighting today. So the people that are being affected by TC Energy is all of the northeastern Montana people. What is at stake here is the water rural supply system. It's gonna affect all of northeastern Montana. All of our lives are at stake because this is the only clean water that we have is the water supply system, and that's what we have to rely on. Back in the 1960s, there was the Murphy oil spill. People kept having problems with their skin and kept getting sick, and they were wondering what it was, and that's when they discovered that it was cancer. And that's the whole reason why the Fort Peck tribes built the rural water supply system, and that's what we're trying to protect. And since the pandemic hit, we actually went up and we had an action at the United States-Canada border, and there was border patrol, Trans-Canada had private security that surrounded us. But when we drove by the Trans-Canada workers, we got to get close to the pipeline. All the Trans-Canada employees didn't have no mask. They weren't practicing social distancing. And that's really gonna affect the Indigenous communities because we only have 3 ventilators on the Fort Peck Reservation, and that's what we're afraid of. We're afraid for our communities, and that's what we're trying to protect. We're trying to protect the water for future generations. But this pandemic, when it hits, oil is not essential. But when I do go into the stores, I notice everybody is buying bottled water. So what I thought to myself was, I bet all of these people, they're for oil, they're buying water, they're fighting over water, and when the fracking destroys the land, when the pipeline destroys the land, everybody is going to be fighting over bottled water. So that's what we're trying to protect. And people are just getting a little taste of what us Indigenous people had to go through.
Here in northern Minnesota, we've been engaged in a years-long struggle against Enbridge's Line 3 tar sands pipeline, a project proposed from the Alberta tar sands to travel down through the headwaters of the Mississippi River to the shore of Lake Superior. It is a 1 million barrel per day project of tar sands transportation. You're talking about putting tar sands through this watershed, this beautiful, powerful watershed that feeds so many millions of beings. The Anishinaabe people of this territory have been resisting this project for a number of years in the regulatory process and in the court process, but we are in the final permitting stages of the Line 3 pipeline. For Line 3, we are not only looking at the destruction of territory and the irrevocable harm of bringing such a large infrastructure project into our communities, whether it's violence against Indigenous women, trafficking, or the actual bulldozing of these very sensitive areas. It is also the threats to our wild rice, which is intrinsic and one of the most central parts of our identity. We came here because Creator told us to go to the place where food grows on water, and that is wild rice. Wild rice is who we are as people. It's also threatening something that I think is a much larger conversation about who we are and what we are going to choose as human beings in our futures. During the COVID-19 pandemic that's raging across the world, we are seeing many, many active work sites to ultimately trench Line 3 into the ground. It is the prioritizing of industry over public health. It is eye-opening to me to see that people engaged in pre-construction are considered essential alongside our doctors and nurses that are fighting this pandemic. When it really comes down to it, their project is more important than the health of their own workers and their own employees. People can learn more and support our work on the front lines of monitoring construction, of putting our bodies and our freedom at risk by visiting our page at GNU Collective, by learning more at stopline3.org, by figuring out what's going on in their own communities and where their own front lines are locally. We need folks to be brave and stand up. Miigwech.